All right. This is your host for most of the time here in sunny side Dubai. I'm just kicking it here with a good friend of mine. His name is Bilal. He is actually not far away from me. He's in the cigar room, as he likes to call it. So I'm glad to have you on the XTcast, the official podcast of XT.com. And welcome to our humble little abode here in downtown Dubai.
Yeah, the black and gold cigar lounge inside the office. Not the most humble, but very relaxing, very comfortable. If it wasn't 10 a.m. in the morning, I would have my cigar lit.
Right. I know. Hey, some people think black and gold is quite humbling. Who knows? There's a different breed of people out there. But just to be clear to the audience, I'm not one of the fancy guys. I'm pretty laid back, one of those small town guys in Texas.
For sure he is.
But anyways, man, Bilal, glad to have you here. I wanted to get you on the podcast because you're from the traditional financial space, and I'm curious to know your thought process, especially your journey into the Web3 crypto wild space. So could you please introduce yourself and take us through this journey?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the introduction. You described it correctly. I come from traditional finance. I was one of these crazy people that always had in mind that he wanted to work at an investment bank. Rightly or wrongly, that's what ended up happening. The reason for that, I guess, thinking back, was when I was around 14, 15 years old, thinking about what I wanted to do going forward, as I was starting to have these questions asked about me, so I thought I'd better have an answer. At that time, whenever I flicked on the TV and watched the news or opened a newspaper, I was hearing about credit crunch and recession and bankers' bonuses and all these kinds of crazy terms, which I had no idea what they meant.
Right.
But I saw the Prime Minister of the UK, the President of the US, talking about these topics, and I realized, wow, these things must have some serious gravitas and importance. And when I began to research and understand, what is the global financial system, what are global markets, how interconnected they are, what is fractional reserve banking, what is money, I began to become quite fascinated by this and decided that this was the direction that I wanted to go. And I did. And I started working at a US investment bank in 2016 back in London, in the country where I grew up, the UK.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm actually quite interested. I'm quite glad you brought up how money is created, the history of money, the fractional reserve banking. Not many people know about it really. So because I'm kind of curious to know, maybe I think the question, why was that kind of important to you? What gravitated towards you, the need to know how the system works, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was doing my own research, right? Well, I was quite young, 14, 15, 16, thinking, okay, this seems interesting. This seems important. What is it? How does it work? And why does it matter? These were the things that I needed to understand. It's quite easy to understand why doctors are important, why lawyers are important. It's quite clear. We need law and order and we need health. But why are investment bankers important? Or now I can say, why are they perceived to be important? Well, that is because they basically control the flow of money around the world. And money is the reason why people do a lot of things, good and bad. So I realized that I needed to understand what is this thing that everyone strives to achieve and chases? Why is it important and how is it created? And my findings were quite interesting, to say the least.
Okay, cool. Okay, thanks for that insight. I really like that. So no, definitely, I know it's quite a deep subject to talk about the history of money and how it's created. And I guess I sort of had a similar journey. It started 2007 actually, trying to learn about the history of money and stuff, and it definitely kind of blew me away. So, but definitely I wasn't investment material. But nonetheless, I think it did kind of get my attention. So But anyways, but back to you in terms of learning about history of money and stuff. How did you come across cryptocurrency? Or let me ask another question. How did you learn about Bitcoin, and what was your reaction, or what did how did it make you feel to learn about it?
Yeah, I mean, when I came across Bitcoin, it was in 2016. It was quite early into my investment banking career, the first year of my career. And I had already understood that money, fiat money, like the US dollar, the euro, the British pound,
Yeah.
is, and will be created arbitrarily out of thin air whenever necessary. At that time, we were going through a period of quantitative easing, which is a very fancy terminology for money printing. These central bankers and politicians deliberately use these complicated terms to confuse people and keep people away from real information. Basically, money is printed and distributed to whichever institution requires it, or these central bankers believe deserve it. Now, that to me was not a very fair or equitable way of sharing money and allocating money. But alas, it was the rules of the game that we were engaged in, and I engaged in that game, myself, when I was an investment banker in London. I came across this thing called Bitcoin, which, to be honest with you, I came across as a financial asset. I'm not one of these guys that is fascinated or was fascinated by the technology, or I'm here for the technology, bro. I was looking at the astronomical financial returns that this asset was achieving, and thought, I want a piece of this. And obviously, I was already engaged in financial markets. I was somewhat financially literate, so had a level of understanding. So it was quite easy for me to get my head around this as a highly speculative financial asset. However, when I started to then understand, okay, what is this thing called Bitcoin? What are its characteristics? What are the fundamental features of its composition? I came to understand that this was something with a hard cap of supply, 21 million Bitcoin. There still will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin ever. There are about 20 million in distribution already. It's being released into the market at an ever slowing rate, whereas fiat currency is quite the opposite. Therefore, it seemed like a harder, purer form of money than the fiat currency that we were used to. And my understanding that this was a very hard and pure form of money really solidified my interest, my passion for the space, and so too led to a lot of different ventures in crypto, main one being an asset management company, which I run today.
All right, interesting. Thank you for giving us this, your origin story, and also how you come across Bitcoin. So I'm always curious to ask people, what was their first impression, and their thoughts on that. So thank you, Bilal, for sharing that. And you talked about you started Carter Capital. I mean, could you give our audience what it's all about, and just let's go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I just alluded to, I was very much interested in this as an investable asset class. The returns were phenomenal, as were the drawdowns and the corrections in valuation, which obviously I went through in 2018. Being someone that was engaged in the banking system already, I had, knowledge of managing assets and managing risk. So I was investing, myself, my own personal account. And those around me within my professional and personal network came to know me as the Bitcoin guy, crypto guy. I started managing crypto assets, not just for myself, but for those around me. So too was born a very small asset management structure of myself and a few friends and colleagues around me. This continued to grow as the interest in crypto grew. And this was the asset management structure which is known as Carter Capital today, which has grown in recent years, grown quite significantly. We've taken on many investors, from around the world whose crypto assets we manage. We manage them in a rather unique way. We are very, very low risk crypto asset managers. We don't take positions in, the latest cat coin or dog coin. We only invest in, high quality blue chip crypto assets which have a specific function and utility. We aim to achieve 100% per year, which is a phenomenal return in terms of traditional markets, but actually quite low in terms of for crypto. We have met and indeed exceeded that level every year since inception in 2016. And we are also non-custodial, meaning if an investor chooses to invest with Carta Capital, they never send us a single dollar of value. They have their own crypto wallet secured by their own passwords and encryption, which I and my team never have access to. Therefore, we never have the ability to remove, withdraw, or divert anything from our clients' accounts. We simply connect via an API and implement our low-risk investment strategies inside the client's wallet.
Wow, that's interesting because, well, I was under the assumption that normally funds that tend to be custodial, but yours is non-custodial. But I'm kind of curious to ask you why did you guys choose the non-custodial route?
Yeah, I mean, it started that way because when I started the asset management journey, I was just myself, right? I was Bilal, I had a job at a bank. I was not a professional asset manager. So in terms of crypto, so I knew there was a way utilizing, the high levels of technology within the space that I could do this without having the client send me their money. And quite frankly, I didn't really want that responsibility or need the client to send me anything. People liked that. They liked that they could keep control of their accounts. They liked that they could check and see how their account was developing at any given moment. They are free to remove their funds if they want at any moment. They liked that. And I realized that this was a rather unique way of structuring an asset management company. And I kept it to this day. As Carta continues to grow and more AUM is managed by us, then probably at some point in the future, we will shift to a semi or a full custodial structure. But at this point in time, it's still a very nice, unique way to run the company.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. That's really cool. I really like that. That's really cool. But I want to ask you, coming from the traditional finance space, and now you're here. Do you still keep in touch with people from, I guess the traditional space, and do they ask you a lot of questions, or ask you the why, or what are the common questions they would ask you? I'm kind of curious to know because I'm sure it might be quite interesting.
It's a very interesting point. I am in touch, with a lot of friends all around the world that are engaged in traditional markets, and they're all aware. They're all aware about crypto. They're all interested in crypto. They still broadly, I don't want to speak, in terms of everyone, they broadly see this as a speculative asset, something that pumps and dumps, something that is not a viable long-term investable asset class for institutions. These are the individuals I'm speaking about.
Sure.
But what I can tell you, at institutional level, when we speak at CIO level and board level, all of these institutions are now moving towards understanding that this is a legitimate investable asset class and something that they need a strategy for.
Gotcha.
So, quite frankly, Carta Capital, led by myself, we consult and advise a lot of institutions on the best way to gain exposure in crypto for their investors and themselves. I truly believe, from a fiduciary perspective, it is more risky not to have a crypto strategy and investment than to have so, because the returns, quite frankly, are a lot higher than certain other asset classes. It does move in a semi-predictable way. If you follow the movements of the credit cycle, of global liquidity and money supply, crypto does tend to move in the same direction as other long duration, high risk assets like venture capital, like technology stocks. It just has outsized moves. This thing can move, 30, 40, 50% in a week. Some blue chip crypto assets move 500 to 1,000% in a year, in certain years to the upside. So these are, very high beta assets, beta meaning, the level of movements that we see on both sides. But as crypto grows, we're just at $1 trillion market cap today in terms of coins and tokens. We were at 3 trillion in November last year. Good times last year.
Good times.
Crypto winter that we're in right now. that the interest was definitely there. I want to say that the institutions at the moment are still acting a lot like retail investors, meaning when the price is pumping and appreciating and the hype is all over social media, they are more interested than they are now. But as we go through more and more of these cycles and adoption continues, then we're going to see more of these companies becoming interested.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was talking to my better half, and one of her colleagues, they're dealing with a certain financial institution. Most of us have used it quite a lot, and
Right.
they're trying to they're definitely curious about crypto, about blockchain, and one of the questions they were asked is, are we going to go for the centralized route or the DeFi route? But I'm kind of curious to ask you, is there a third option, maybe a hybrid? Does that exist? So I just thought, let me ask you this question, let it marinate, and you could kind of like share some wisdom.
Yeah, no, look, it's an interesting point. We are definitely moving towards a centralized world of crypto. There are going to be very soon, I say soon, in the next 5 to 10 years, the release of centralized central bank digital currency (CBDCs). These are essentially traditional currencies like the euro, like the dollar, like the Chinese yuan, that are going to be issued and utilized on blockchain rails. So there are clear technological improvements and advantages to having a currency operate on blockchain, such as having the ability to individually tinker for example, the interest rate on a loan that you have, that can change day to day based on how your expenditure habits occur, which are all recorded on blockchain anyway. There are a number of things that might surprise people that a CBDC will have the ability to do. For example, let's say that you call in sick to your job. You will not be able to then spend your central bank digital currency at the movie theater or at a theme park, because you're meant to be sick, right? So you can only spend that at the pharmacy and the grocery store. These things can be very, very easily implemented in a blockchain world, and they will be, because these features are being trialed and tested right now by leading central banks around the world. So it's a natural evolution of things that, as a new technology comes in and is embraced by initially a niche subset of people, if that technology has clear use cases for the wider society, it's natural that these things become centralized and controlled. The classic example of this is the internet. The internet was once this weird, place where a few niche people went, and then exploded into, the journey from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3, where we are today. So it's not something to be feared. It's something that's inevitable. And ultimately, it's an opportunity for those that are active in the space, like you and I, to better present our view of things and to make the place a better place for everyone that's involved.
All right. Okay. Interesting. Aside from CBDCs, but what about your I guess the private market, the free market, like your Bitcoin Cash, Polygon. I mean, you got like other privacy coins. You got like, but do you think that they're also going to play a major role, maybe? Because people will have like two choices, either CBDCs or other cryptos. Kind of create their own little economies.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Bitcoin is always going to be Bitcoin. It has unique characteristics as opposed to other cryptos, such as being the first, such as being the most widely used and widely understood, the most popular. I think Bitcoin is going to emerge as a digital gold. It's going to emerge as a digital store of value with a fixed and finite supply, and something which is going to be used to store value over a long period of time. There are going to be other layer one blockchains such as Ethereum, Polygon, which is an Ethereum scaling solution that you mentioned, and other leading layer ones like Solana, Avalanche, each that have unique fundamental characteristics that will allow specific products to be built upon it. It's clear that Solana is going for more of the mass market, given that it
Sure.
has, a projected high transactions per second, whereas Avalanche is going for the more technical side with the three-chain solution. There's going to be, I think, a subset of 5 to 10 layer ones that emerge as the preeminent leaders. I don't really have a strong view on which ones those will be. Time will tell.
Sure. I think
And
it's
then a
too
long
early, right, to
tail.
tell.
Yeah, it's too early to say. And then a long tail of other layer ones where specific products can be built. Well, I do believe that we will be existing in a world where there will be a hybrid of, as you say, centralized options and semi-decentralized options and fully decentralized options.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Are there any other trends that you are looking out for? I think that's that captures your attention.
The main thing that I'm looking for personally is the continued institutional investor adoption of this as a investable asset class. As an asset manager myself, this is what I'm looking at, and this is a trend that is definitely happening. In 2022, we've seen the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, announce that it's offering crypto as an asset class to its investors for the first time. BlackRock manages over $12 trillion of assets.
Right.
Excuse me. Thank you. That is obviously 12 times larger than the entire crypto space today. So when you have an asset manager like that announcing that this is going to be something that we're going to offer, that's not a decision they make on a whim. That's a decision that has come after years of analysis and due diligence. When they say we're going to do this, that shows you that this is something very serious, and all other asset managers around the world are going to have to move in this direction. Other entities like Goldman Sachs, they've been involved in crypto since 2015.
Right.
Not very loudly, not very publicly, but they have. Some of the most ubiquitous and most used crypto products around the world have Goldman Sachs' fingerprints on it. Surprisingly so to many people. But institutions like this are very much involved. This is a trend that I'm following very closely. I'm involved with, advising entities and some of the leading financial entities in the region about this, and it's something I'm following very closely.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I'm kind of curious about speak about institutions. Because so far, I haven't seen institutions getting into the DeFi space, right? So, what are the concerns for institutions trying to get into DeFi? Is it because of the compliance? Is it the privacy concerns? Could you elaborate on that?
That's a great question. Decentralized finance is one of the major subsects of crypto. It is the provision of traditional financial services on blockchain, such as lending, borrowing, saving, insurance, etc. Institutions are just, they are interested. They are looking at this. Obviously, it's a sector they understand. It's a sector they operate in. There are, very high levels of risk involved with this. We've seen, major DeFi protocols blow up this year and last year, like Anchor Protocol, for example, which was normally a high yield savings account. So these are things that they're worried about. At this stage, it's also quite difficult to price what is a good yield, what is a risk-free yield, because this risk-free rate has not been identified yet by the market, nor has it been, well understood. In traditional markets, there is a risk-free rate, which is perceived as a 10-year US sovereign bond, because it's perceived that the US government will never default on its debt. That is used in global markets as a risk-free rate.
Gotcha.
That is changing within crypto. As Ethereum is moving from proof of work to proof of stake, and one can generate a native yield of native Ethereum staking at around 6 to 8%, that will become, I believe, the base case for yield generation, not just within DeFi, but in the whole of crypto. So as this becomes a better entrenched and well understood thesis, I see more institutions will start to enter into the yield generating space, probably through Ethereum, which is the largest layer one with the most activity upon it, but thereafter certainly into other leading DeFi protocols. Okay,
that's good. Okay, no, that's great to know. Yeah, and I didn't think about the yield aspect. So kind of curious to know. Okay. But aside from, institutions like, I mean, you've been in Dubai long enough to see, a lot of activities. I guess not just, like layer one blockchains, but, talk about, say, DeFi, talk about NFTs. And I mean, I've seen a lot of, like GameFi and Metaverse. So kind of curious about your thoughts, it's been pretty exciting here in Dubai. I mean, this last month. So, I barely slept. So it's
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think this space is really, really at the early stages. The metaverse, the GameFi, NFTs. These are, I truly believe, going to be very, very huge sectors in terms of global commerce. There are so many improvements in the applications that can be built upon each of these subsections. Dubai, for sure, is at the forefront of this. Dubai has been, one of the forerunners in all kinds of innovation, in the last couple of decades. It is a new country, a new city. It's finding its place in the world, and it's natural for this place to be, one of the leaders in the space. For example, just over there's a very beautiful museum that's been built, a new museum. You know what it's called? The Museum of Future. In most cities around the world, museums are backward-looking historical artifacts. Here, the Marquee Museum is something for the future. It tells you everything you need to know about this space. It's natural that it's adopting and holding a product like crypto very close to its heart. And yeah, I'm very enthusiastic about it. NFTs, for sure, I think is going to be the first thing which is going to explode. I think because there are very clear crossovers and parallels to the physical world that NFTs can extrapolate upon. A lot of people don't know this, but Ticketmaster has released over 150 million NFTs already. So ticketing is probably going to be the first thing to pop off. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, again, not something that's widely publicized, but we all now use our airplane boarding passes in our Apple wallets. We go to concerts and we get emailed a QR code, which we have scanned at the entrance. These are already basically NFTs that have been issued, and they can be kept. They can be kept just like people keep their old tickets, to the World Cup final, or Floyd Mayweather's last boxing match, or whatever thing you're interested in. Instead of just keeping a paper ticket stub, you could keep a digital NFT, which then can give you access to other things in the future, like exclusive interviews by your favorite athlete, or the pre-release of the new merchandise of your favorite sports team or artist. Now suddenly NFTs have an ongoing meaning and an ongoing value. These things are being developed. These things are already in the market. So we're going to start to see this touch, physical realms like ticketing and travel and arts very soon.
Interesting. I'm kind of wondering, could we see, institutions use NFT, or I don't know, like in, say, like boring industries like insurance, or car ownership or something like. And I'm just trying to imagine. Sorry, is that possible? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole point of blockchain is that there is an immutable record, into perpetuity about the activities of an asset. Now, if that asset is a car, for example, as you've mentioned, now when we go to buy a car, we go to inspect a used car, Marcos. You ask the guy for the service records, and he pulls out about 5 million pieces of paper with scribbles on them. Who is realistically going to look through them and identify what's actually happened? Of course, these papers can be forged, etc., etc. If every car was an NFT, I would know within 5 seconds. Has it been in an accident? When were the last services? Where was it serviced? What was rectified? What was not? And it's going to be shown to me in an immutable record, which is verifiable and accepted globally. So that's, you've made an example about car insurance. I've very clearly given you a use case for NFTs and blockchain. So this will, for sure, it will touch every area of the world that we live in, much like the internet has. 20 years ago, the internet was this weird thing. You had to plug in a cable into a box. It made some weird noises, and then you went and read an article on AOL.com. Now look what we're doing. We're having a conversation now shared with the world over the internet. So that's all happened within 20 years or so. The same thing is going to happen with blockchain. It's already happening. It's a very, very, exciting space to be. And I'm very much looking forward to contributing a little bit into the growth of this sector.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's nicely said. So I got to end this off asking you, what's the do you have like kind of like a roadmap for yourself and for Carter Capital? Like, what can we expect from Bilal in the next 6-12 months? What are you cooking up?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for sure. Look, Carter Capital is continuing to grow. We're continuing to invite and include more and more investors into our asset management structure. Right now is a very, very favorable time to begin your investing journey in crypto. We're at 2017 valuations in some leading assets like Bitcoin, but we've had 4 or 5 years of user adoption, use case increase, number of users and transactions on chain increase since then. You're basically acquiring a blue chip asset at a very, very heavy discount. So those that are going to be investing now, the smart investors, are going to do very well in the next few years. They always say that fortunes are made in the bear market, and this is an extreme bear market we're in. So that's one thing that I'm looking forward to, seeing the evolution of our clients' portfolios in the next 12 to 18 months. And also, as regulatory frameworks continue to be written and continue to be strengthened in this country, in this city, Carter Capital will, of course, adjust to that. So as our financial regulators continue to strengthen the regulatory frameworks here, yesterday on the 1st of November, there was a paper released by the DFSA in light of this. As these continue to happen, Carter will, of course, react, adjust, and strengthen its regulatory position, which will allow it to be better placed to include more institutional capital within our asset management structure.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Awesome, man. Yeah. This. I'm sure that's pretty exciting stuff. But outside
I've got to ask the same to you. What are you most looking forward to next 12 to 18 months?
Me, what I'm looking forward to, I think I'm looking forward to more developers actually coming down to Dubai. And outside of XC.com, I do run my own little, do co-host a meetup called Coffee Crypto.
Yes.
So me, Dr. Anish from Panther Protocol, Anton from Zilliqa, and Grandmaster Shifu, Sam at Meta Incubator. So we're trying to get the word out to help promote maybe DevCon in the Middle East, of all places here in Dubai. So there hasn't been DevCon in the Middle East at all. So the reason we're trying to target developers is that we want to bring more builders, we want to bring more founders, and definitely also, hey, we also got some amazing creators also coming in terms of content creation, to showcase how crypto and blockchain are going to revolutionize the internet, information, and money. So I think so from, I guess, personally from my side, just trying to help foster conversations, talk about DeFi, talk about privacy, and talk about also creating blockchain-based solutions that relate to the regular Joes and Janes out in the world. So because it doesn't have because one thing for sure, correct me if I'm wrong, because I personally believe that our industry has a messaging issue. Like, we need to work on our message, a simple message to connect people, and be inclusive, but also create some opportunities, to make things understandable. So it is a tough job, but it is a worthy cause from my point of view. So yeah, that's kind of like my little roadmap for in 6 to 12 months.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree that it would be great to have more developers here. There were, a few hacker houses, from a few layer ones that were here in the last 12 months or so, but it would be great to see that improve more and include more technical capabilities within Dubai. Dubai, there's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of investment, but let's have some more technical builders here. It is a great place to live. It's a great place to do business. So I'm sure that will happen in due course. On the messaging side, completely agree. Especially Dubai really specializes on the niche side of things, right? Metaverse, NFTs, GameFi. Do we really need to have another release of pixelated chimpanzees wearing funny hats as NFTs? I don't think so. It'd be great, to see more developments on the ticketing side, the real estate side, all of the real applications that we've spoken about during our conversation. So I'm looking to see Dubai to increase, its profile in the world. It's already one of the leading crypto hubs, no doubt about that.
True.
It's in the same bracket as, Miami, Lisbon, Singapore, for sure, without a doubt. It'd be great to see Dubai continue to emerge as number one in this field.
I think one point I also want to add is I would love to see, crypto payments on the local level. Like, because my family used to live in Dera, the old side of Dubai. It'd be kind of cool to, go to Karama, go to Dera, buy a chai or coffee, with crypto, I think that experience when I showed to some of my friends and all, like, they're like, wow, this is unbelievable. That's crazy. Like, is that possible? So I want to create that possibility for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one of the things that the regulators are considering, the crypto payments angle. So that's definitely going to be coming. When we see the advent of CBDCs in 5 to 10 years, for sure, that's obviously going to be the case. But right now, when we have these private stable coins like Tether, like Circle, although that's somewhat regulated, it's difficult to have that. It's difficult to have that sort of payment framework. But they're trying, for sure. They're trying. You've seen some of the headlines in the last 12 months with some big crypto and retail institutions coming together. That is going to continue, no doubt. And that would be really cool. I agree.
Awesome. Yeah. And hey, let's end this episode with some words of wisdom from Bilal. I mean, we got some lot of new people coming into the space, and there's so much going on. And we also got some, like, highly qualified people, like even top leaders of companies, they're all kind of curious. They know something's happening in the space. There's so much of energy and excitement and like new possibilities, right? So, what would be your word of wisdom? I mean, you've been on both sides of the the coin. So, what advice would you like to give?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make two. I don't know if I'm well placed enough to give advice, but I'll make two points. One of which is that technology is inevitable. Technological advancement has occurred since the dawn of human time. To now assume that suddenly technological advancement is going to stop and we're going to go back to a pre-blockchain world is foolish. It's simply not going to happen. The cat is already out the bag. Too many entities are already involved in this space. So my advice would be, this is inevitable. This is going to happen. You should be involved. Now, why should you be involved? Well, this is a value-generating event unlike anything that's ever happened before. The closest, most relevant, and most recent thing we have to compare to this is the advent and advancement of the internet. Well, the number of crypto users around the world is growing at double the speed of internet users did at the same point in its life cycle. So we're growing at double the speed of the internet. We have applications that touch every facet of human life. Unlike the internet, where if you wanted to be involved, invest and build, you had to build a specific product or bet on the right horse in the race. For example, if you had invested in Amazon on day one, that would have been a great to hold on. Multiple drawdowns of 80% plus of Amazon stock, much like Bitcoin and other cryptos, but it would have been a great investment. But what about the many other internet companies that came and fell by the wayside during the dot-com era and thereafter? Unlike this period of time, with crypto, you can invest in the underlying frameworks and foundations of the space. You can invest in the leading layer one, like Ethereum. You can invest in Bitcoin, digital gold. You can invest in other leading layer ones. You don't have to make specific selective investments. So there's so many cool things going on in this space. I would advise everyone to get involved.
Awesome. And hey, Bilal, thank you so much for the words of wisdom. Really, really appreciate it. So before you go, hey, look, if people want to connect with you, they want to reach out to you, are they allowed to? Can they reach out to you?
Yeah, of course they can. You can go on my website, www.cartercapital.one. You'll find our contact details there at the bottom of the page, and would love to hear from you.
would love to hear and have a conversation about what are your goals in terms of investing in crypto and how we can help.
Sure, yeah, and also, definitely I'll leave the links below, and also I will also love to add your LinkedIn link as well too, so they can follow you and check out what's happening. So yeah, that's another. So do you have any other socials?
We'll put all the links in the show notes, and I'm very happy to hear from everyone. I always respond to all the messages that I receive, emails, DMs. Please, shoot me a message.
Awesome. You heard it, folks. Anyways, we got to go. We got big things to do, great things to accomplish. So anyways,
I'm going to get my cigar now.
But anyways, folks, we got to go. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Hold up. Just hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute from your side.